You're safety director
Yeah.
of one of the safest, most dangerous types of companies there can be.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
How'd you end up in the safety director? Like,
shot in the dark. So I went to Hassan. I did the military thing, still in the military. I went and I sold insurance, and I did finance and life insurance for a couple of years for a couple different companies. Wore the suit and tie every day and hated it.
right.
I hated it. I did it because I thought it was lucrative, and my sister and her husband did it, and they did well, and there was some money to be made, but I friggin' hated it. I really, there is a place for it. There's definitely a place for it.
Right.
But I didn't enjoy it. I literally woke up hating going to work, and then I was at work putting a fake smile on, and I hated it. And you said you think of me as a positive person. I didn't feel great about who I was and what I was doing, and it's a bad feeling. I wasn't proud when someone asked like what I did for work. I wasn't proud of what I was saying. So I've always been a proponent of, if you don't like something, go do something else. There's a difference between like doing something, quitting, and doing something and dragging on forever.
Right.
So I was just doing a Google search about a few other things, and I found this job, and I never even heard of NS Giles until I applied for it. So I applied for it. I didn't hear back. I put a suit on, and I went to the office, and Tracy was at the front desk, and I said, "Hey, my name's Kyle O'Connell. I have an appointment with HR, with Scott at the time." And she goes, "You do? You have an appointment?" And I said, "Yep." And I didn't. Yeah.
Wow.
And she goes, "Okay, I'll be right back." And so I sat on that little bench right there, and Scott came around the corner, and he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I must have misplaced you on my calendar. I got a few minutes if you're ready right now."
Knowing Scott,
Yeah.
he probably thought he did.
Yeah.
You had no idea.
I
You were
had
playing
no idea.
The
But
best HR person to be pulled that
had
trick
the
on.
right. He was probably like, "Oh wow, I messed up. This
That's so funny.
kid's here." So I went in, and I was like, "Hey, I applied for this job, and this is why I want it, and I feel like I do really good at it." And we talked for like 45 minutes, and he's like, "Yeah, I think you do a great job too." They brought me in for a second interview where I met Dale and Jamie, Shane, Jeanette, and then Scott. And right in the middle of the interview, Jeanette was like, "Hey, are you always this excited? And like, are you nervous right now?" And I was like, "I'm a little nervous. I just get kind of pumped up sometimes. I get a little excited." She's like, "Yeah, I see that." And I was like, "All right, I'll calm down a little bit." But I just get passionate when I was like selling myself, and I was excited to learn about the company and why I thought I could do good in this position. And I thought I could do good in the position because I had worked in the construction field, and then I had the risk management side with insurance and finance. And I've always had a thing for safety guys where they're like this fat prick that is just like pointing at you, telling you you're doing something wrong.
Right.
And I've been on the other side of that where I could have just like throttled the guy. And I'm like, why are you even here? So I really had that in my mind the whole time. Like, I'm going to be different. I'm going to go lug panels. I'm going to tie rebar. I'm going to pour concrete. I'm going to get in there and work with these guys and show them that I know how to work and can work, and that I'm not going to ask them to do anything I wouldn't do. So I really just worked on building relationships. That safety culture was there before I got there.
Right.
Shane really understood the importance, for his people and for the dollar and longevity of the business, that safety makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And so that culture was already built. So I really had that foundation, pun intended, was already built. I just had to go in there and improve it and take it. They needed someone with energy and someone that they didn't have to babysit to go in there and do it. And I really think what has made me successful in my position is being able to build relationships with every single person in that field and be able to communicate to them to their needs.
Right.
So if I'm talking to Chris Levesque, a superintendent, I'm going to talk to him differently than if I'm talking to a new hire that's in his first week. And I think that, go back to that professional communications class in college, being able to turn that switch depending on who I'm talking to so that they feel like I'm talking to them and I'm listening to them and actually listening to them, not just playing the game, that has made a difference to them actually hearing what I'm saying and saying, I need to do it this way. I need to work this way, and this is why I'm doing it. One of the things I talk about, I don't know if you've heard me talk about it before, is, remember your why.
No.
And so I tell the guys in the field all the time, when we talk about fighting complacency and like setting the ladder up the right way, or doing a lift plan for the crane the right way, rigging the right way, and actually thinking about doing it the right way. Remember, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this kinds of thing? For me, that clicked when I had kids. I know I keep saying it. Right. Everything clicked when I had kids. That's why I go to work every day. I don't go to work every day. I would find something else to do if I didn't need the money. Right. I would be a fisherman and a hunter, and I'd spend more time with my kids. But my why I go to work and why I do things safely is so I can provide for my family. So you really, you look someone in the eye and that's out there swinging a hammer every single day. Why are you doing that the right way? Are you doing it just to collect a paycheck, or does your family rely on you for that paycheck? So if you do something stupid and you fall because you didn't inspect your harness and you die, who's going to take care of your family? And that really resonates with people. So I feel like being able to really connect with people on all certain kinds of levels and communicate the message that you need to get across has helped improve this company, safety wise. And the other side of it is the nitty gritty, like the game side of it, case management, case by case. Right. So the way you deal with OSHA, the way you deal with workers' comp, that way we have directly seen the correlation between, what safety can do for a company versus other companies that don't have a safety program. So
what was that like when you got the job? And so now you have the responsibility of, I was trying to think about it today, like how, like I'm going to go do something around, or job sites back when I used to work construction, like the best construction guy was the guy that was willing to do these things that other people weren't, which is just stupid, dangerous stuff. Yeah. And then to have to be that person that there's a responsibility. If you don't do well at your job, people could die. Right. You know what I mean? That. Yeah. So what was it like when you get the job and you're thinking about what you have to, and you don't have, you've just kind of talked yourself into it. Yeah. But now you've got it.
Oh, and now I got it. Yeah, no, it was overwhelming for sure. But it was just another one of those times where, I started to like diagnose everything and put it on the table, and it was just a new challenge. It was just a new challenge where I felt challenged, and I was like, this is exciting. I'm really excited to take on this challenge. And, I'm a big list guy. Every day I rewrite my list of things to do and cross out certain things. Try to do like the small things and get a couple victories throughout the day, and then start tackling the bigger problems. So I just took that approach to this thing, and they've always been real good about, hey, this is the direction we want this thing to go, but we're open to ideas. If you have other ideas, we want you to, put all in, but, we want you to take it where you feel like we need to take it. So having that, not being micromanaged is huge for me, because I feel like if I'm micromanaged, then you're, holding my wings back, holding my wings down. But definitely, it's overwhelming almost every day for me. Right. Especially during the past year and a half of COVID, my phone. This weekend I will have a call or text about something to do with COVID. Someone's uncle's brother, cousins was a contact. Someone has COVID. Someone has the sniffles. It will go off 100%. My phone has not stopped. Monday through Sunday. There is something to do with COVID. I have never learned more about epidemiology than I ever wanted.
We get your emails, and it just kind of has to dig through all that. You have to be
it's disgusting.
A virologist on top of a safety guy.
Yeah, which I don't know if I would still feel the same way about the current pandemic as I would if I was not as
educated on it,
driven into it every single day. Right. Which is it's a very frustrating thing to deal with right now, because my beliefs could be over here, but what I have to do for the company to keep the company working to deal with mandates and recommendations and restrictions are over here. So I definitely believe viruses are real. I definitely believe in viruses, but me and my family might have a more holistic approach to things. Right. We don't take ibuprofen every day just in case we get a headache.
Right. Exactly.
We try not to take ibuprofen if we have a headache. Right. We try to drink water, or turn the lights off, or put our phone away, or go for a walk or something. And we try to teach our kids the same way.
And be healthy.
That is, if you look back to the pandemic, in the very beginning of the pandemic, where we had 15 days to slow the spread, and then it was, 3 months to cure whatever. What if we took 3 months or 6 months, and the federal government said, hey, everybody, we've got this free health and wellness program for the entire country. These are some free tips and tricks, and we want everybody to do it. So every morning you do this, and you can eat these foods, and we're going to provide these fruits and vegetables to everybody, or we're going to provide these fitness programs for everybody. If we did that and the entire country lost a few pounds, we would be a healthier nation. Yeah. And I mean, obesity is the number one factor in just about all deaths.
Right. Yeah.
So if we held a little responsibility and held each other to a little more self-responsibility or self-accountability for just obesity, just straight obesity, which brings me to my next thing, like the FDA being God about what is good and what is bad. The amount of sugar that we have in foods, just in comparison to European countries that aren't allowed. Why do we have, I think it's like 58 grams of sugar per serving in ketchup?
You hear Subway has to, I want to say Australia, can't call their bread. They have to call it cake.
It's disgusting.
It's so much sugar, they have to call it cake.
It's disgusting. Like Subway's tuna that isn't tuna. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Maybe it's fish, maybe it's not.
And Subway's probably the better option between McDonald's or whatever. But
Yeah.
French fries and stuff.
Yeah, horse meat and Burger King. But I just believe that I believe in medicine for sure, and I believe in vaccines. I don't believe in insurance companies having the say of when vaccines are. Right. I'm dealing with that with kids right now. And one example is the Hep B vaccine. I went and took my kid to the pediatrician, and I always ask questions. And I feel like they feel like I'm an anti-vaxxer just because I'm asking questions. And I always try to be super polite and super friendly and super smiley when I'm asking, because I don't want them to feel defensive, because they're just doing their job.
Right.
And I asked about the Hep B vaccine. They were getting ready to give my son a Hep B vaccine. And I was like, what do you need the Hep B vaccine for? And they said a few things, and then they just printed off a pamphlet. And they gave me the pamphlet. And I'm reading through the pamphlet, and it talked about gay sex, and it talked about exposure to blood from other people that have hepatitis B.
Right.
And I looked at them, I said, why do 3-year-olds need this Hep B? And they're like, well, it says right on the sheet, potential of gay sex and blood exposure. And I said, well, my son's 3. I said, he's not going to be having sex with any sex for a long time. And I really don't think he's going to be exposed to blood from another person that has Hep B.
Right.
And I was like, is there another reason that we would do it now? Well, we don't want to forget. We don't want to forget and not have it in his chart when he's older. I said, can't we just put it in the records that he didn't get it when he was 3 and he can get it later, when his immune system's a little bit bigger? And, they looked at me like I had 4 eyes. And I was like, no, we're not going to get it right now. We'll get it later. We're not going to get it right now. If those are your 2 reasons as to why you need the Hep B vaccine, my son's not having gay sex when he's 3 years old.
Right.
And they look at you weird when you say that, but I'm like, it says it in the pamphlet you just gave me, So those kinds of things I just question. I'm always skeptical of for-profit things when there's a negative situation. I'm against it. Obviously these massive pharmaceutical companies. So there's 3 or 4 major pharmaceutical companies in the world are making a ton of money. They're making a ton of money off this. So you should be able to be skeptical about that. And then and you always sound like a conspiracy theorist and you get shamed about it, but you're allowed to follow the money. If you look at what pharmaceutical companies fund media companies and fund political campaigns, and then what lobbyists are funding other political campaigns.
Well, isn't that why cholesterol got a bad rap, because the sugar industry paid off? Yeah. Eggs. Right. Too much cholesterol in eggs. Right. There's too much money in sugar.
There's money in sick people. There's a lot of money in sick people. Look at I don't even know, are we allowed to say about other companies, but like Abbott Laboratories, they produce insulin, and they also produce it's either children's cough syrup or it's children's this children's medicine, but it has a pile of sugar in it, a ton of sugar in it. So you're creating insulin for diabetic children, but you're creating this other product that's loaded with sugar.
Right, which is probably going to...
And I'm like...
You see the cycle there.
Like...
They're creating future clients.
Right. Like 2 and 2 put together. You look at a bag of Doritos, you look at all this stuff, it's like... This entire pandemic, we had an opportunity to educate the rest of the country on how to eat healthy and how to work out and how to... if the rest of the country went for a walk and cut down on a bag of Doritos... Right. We would be a healthier nation.
And I don't know how it didn't. I was in pretty good shape. and the pandemic hit, I was like, I need to be in better shape.
Yeah.
You know, that's immediately where my mind went to.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you seen Kevin lately?
He lost a ton of weight.
Oh my gosh. I went to a field hockey game. He was there.
Yep.
I pull in. He's standing in front of my vehicle looking at me. I'm like, man, that guy looks familiar. And he's looking and he waves. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Kevin. He's talking to me. I'm still looking at him like, I don't even recognize this guy. I think I want to have him on just to
Kevin's an awesome guy.
find out about like how he did it. But I don't know how more people didn't take that approach. Like, this is killing obese people, and we knew that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it, 78%?
It's something stupid. Yeah. Like, it's never talked about.
No.
It's crazy to me.
No.
Yeah. So you come in as a safety guy, and it's your first real experience in this, and now you have, there's like a national, you're speaking or something, like, so our companies.
Yeah, we just got second place in a national award for our division, which was really cool. There was a bunch of companies out there, and it was a AGC of America competition, Construction Safety Excellence Award is what it was, and it's a national. We won, the state of Maine won, and so you get invited to go compete to the national level. And there was companies out there with 10,000 plus employees with 5 million man hours, and they had 100 safety directors, and they own the Pacific West and the Southeast and the Northeast, and they're everywhere, and they're just huge. They make Chinbro look small,
right?
And then so you had to put on a presentation in front of a judges panel, a 5-minute presentation with a 10-minute question and answer, and it was about your safety program and why you're the best. And on the panel, which I didn't know, you don't know who's on the panel until you get there, and I was the very first presenter, which I was actually really glad to be the first presenter to get it over with.
I was always that way in speech class.
Yeah, get it over with. And so it was an owner's rep from Google, a VP from Boeing, a VP from Sims Crane, the president of Willis Towers Watson, and then the president of AGC Health and Safety of America. 5 dudes that are super squared away, super educated, super knowledgeable, and they know their stuff, and they know it better than you. So I'm up there and did our presentation, and then they ask you some questions, and they all asked great, challenging, thought-provoking questions. And in my head, I'm thinking, I have so much more to share about our company, and I'm trying to just narrow it down to answer, why we're the best at certain things. And one of the things I said was, for the line of work that we do, for the amount of risk we're exposed to, for us to have the safety records that we have is unmatched to anybody else here.
Right.
We're not a general contractor that has one carpenter that's on site to build a set of stairs or to plug a hole or to unclog a drain. So that's what those general contractors do. Their liability, physical liability, is next to zero. They have insurance liability, but their actual physical liability is, basically zero.
Right.
And I think that hit with them for a little bit. And I felt really good about the presentation. I'm knowledgeable in what I was presenting, and I was passionate about it. And I feel pretty confident speaking in front of people. Right. So I did that, and it was fun. And then I got to sit in on other presentations and listen to these other companies. And I learned so much from these other companies. And they are some really squared away, organized, data-based companies they're tracking data that we haven't even started to track in the state of Maine. Nor do we necessarily have to track as much data as they're doing, just because our man hours aren't as you're talking 5 million man hours, and we're at 225, 235,000.
Right.
But I was still super proud of where our company's at, where we've been, where we've gotten the past couple of years, and super proud that Shane and Jeanette sent me and my wife down to Florida to go compete for it, and then still have some vacation time for ourselves. So super grateful for that. And then they had these happy hour events at the end of the night where everybody takes their guard off, and I'm mingling with multi-millionaire presidents of companies and VPs and the Google rep and all these people, and I'm just trying to funnel in information from all these people. And that was probably the coolest part of the entire trip, is talking to these super successful people, or what I consider super successful people, and they talk just like anybody else was, and they're talking about their kids, and they're talking about the football game, and they're talking about this, and they're out there drinking beer or having a vodka, and they're having a good time. And I'm just watching them, how they interact with people, and you sit there and you're like, that guy's super successful. What makes him different from everybody else? And just the way they carry themselves in public, whether they're drinking a beer or whether they're just shooting the shit, they're tall and they're confident and they speak. You know, they're not just saying words; they're actually saying things with meaning, and everything they're talking about, they clearly know what they're talking about.
Right.
So I just was picking up stuff like that, and I was like, this is a cool environment for me to be in. I was definitely the little fish, which I also enjoy being, and it was neat. You know, I talk about not being the smartest person in the room. I was probably the dumbest person in the room, in the whole hotel lobby, but it was fun. It was a really good trip.
And do you allow yourself to pat yourself on the back a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're kind of kicking ass at what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm proud of where we are. I still see, you know, I set new goals every year, and but I definitely see where we've taken the company.
Yeah.
You know, statistically, you can look at it, and then
It's really cool to have the support of change in that. I mean,
that is priceless.
Yeah.
That is priceless. I mean, I don't have a budget. If I feel like we need something, I'll put together a presentation and I'll sit them down and say, hey, I think this is what we need to do and this is why. And he's never said no.
Right.
And to me, that's a guy that genuinely cares about his employees. You know, those hard hats we just bought, that was $15,000 purchase.
Wow.
Based on not a hunch. I mean, there's data behind it, but it's like, hey, I think these would do better for us. I think these would really work. And paired with having to mask up on certain jobs, I was like, this is a necessity for us. Hey, if you think it's the right thing to do, let's do it. There's not many bosses out there that are going to spend $15,000 on a safety item that is not a necessity.
Right.
To me, that stuff right there makes me want to work 10 times harder. You know, if he wanted me to run through a brick wall, I'd find a way to run through the brick wall.